Hey everybody, welcome back to Pal here. My name is Pal. I'm excited to be doing the second of the Zen Guitar topic videos. So if you haven't seen the first one yet, I do encourage you to go watch that. You'll find out about why I think this is a really great book, and also kind of explains why I got into it and how I found it and all that kind of stuff. So check that out. I have everything in a playlist as these videos go forward, so you'll be able to watch them all together. Basically, I'm going to start with just a very quick review of the kind of the end of the introduction that we ended with in the previous video. So basically, it's saying that there are 4 steps on the path of Zen guitar. They are: number 1, wear the white belt; number 2, pick up your guitar; number 3, tune; number 4, play. So this video, we're going to just go into the details of those 4 steps, and I'll just give you a couple of observations from my own life and my own guitar playing and whatever, to kind of expand on those concepts a little bit. So the first one is to wear the white belt, and really it's just as I mentioned in the beginning, it's this martial mindset to always have in mind that you are a student, you are a person who is seeking and learning, and you never stop learning, you never stop trying to progress, you never stop your path along the way. It's not a destination. You never get there. You never become this master and then now you don't do anything. You are always striving, you're always reaching. So that's kind of the first part of this step. And there is a part that I really liked here, which the author says that in this dojo, I've tried to distill each lesson down to its essence. Look upon each lesson as a small bag of tea. To consume the teaching, pour in your own hot water. That is, seek to relate what I say to your own experience and provide examples from your own life. That way, the teaching will have more resonance for you. Words can only guide you. Your bones have to understand. And I think this goes along really well with one of the previous things I mentioned in the first video, which is that this is a very physical thing. It's not like in some spiritual practice where you're just sitting and praying or meditating or what have you. You are actually going and doing the thing. You have to actually learn these things by physically embodying them and doing them. So I think this is a very good thing, and I like the analogy that you get this little bit of knowledge, like the little tea bag, but you have to then go do something with it. You can't just sit there and enjoy the tea without putting in the hot water yourself. You have to put in the work yourself. So you learn this little snippet of something, and then you go and you make it your own. You do something with it. You relate it to some other aspect of your life, whether it's guitar playing or any other kind of thing. And that's when you really learn the lesson, when you've related it back to your own life and your own being. So I love that lesson. And just from a guitar perspective, I would say this is the kind of thing that I've never wanted to really learn, like note for note, somebody's guitar solo or some song. I barely know how to play any songs, actually. It's kind of funny. And I mean by that I mean covers, like other people's songs. I was always more focused on writing my own songs, and that's not to say that that's what you should do or not, but I'm just saying that when I did learn something, I usually tried to then bring that back to something that I could do, that's something that I would write with, something that I would play. So if you learn something really cool, like it's great to learn a lick, it's great to learn some little solo, but then can you take it and make it your own? Can you do something else with it? And I think that's a really great lesson. So don't just think that you're going to learn something from somebody and then that's it, you've learned it and you're done. Learn it even deeper by being able to take it and make it part of yourself, make it part of your playing. And I think that's pretty cool. So that was something that I took from that chapter there about wearing the white belt, and never think that you're done. Always be on the lookout for something else. Always be looking and practicing and trying to get better. Now the next step is picking up your guitar, and really he breaks this down into 2 sections in the book. He says the first step is obviously to go and pick up an instrument. So if you don't have a guitar yet and you want one, then that's the first step of picking up your guitar, meaning like pick out what it is that you actually want to do. Do you want to play acoustic? Do you want to play electric? Do you want to be playing stoner rock with like heavy fuzz and distortion. Well, you need a fuzz pedal or whatever, or do you need a looper because that's the kind of music you want to do or whatever. Pick out your instrument, pick out your guitar, and then, that's the first step, obviously. And he talks about the importance of, looking for quality. I'm going to just read this little section here. Learn to identify quality and appreciate anything that's well made wherever you find it. Look deeply into the spirit that goes into making an item of quality, the care, the precision, the attention to detail. Incorporate that spirit into your work in this dojo. Anything you set out to make, music, love, a bookshelf, a meal, make as well as you can. To do otherwise is spiritless. So he says, pick out what you want, learn to find something that is of good quality. Don't just get something that's shoddy and cheap and whatever. But he also says, not to confuse price, with quality. So not everything that's expensive is necessarily good, and not everything that's inexpensive is necessarily cheap or poorly made. So it's really just about like learning to appreciate quality and then doing that for yourself as well. Like as you go through your life, do everything to the best of your ability and, to a good standard. So the first step is, again, picking up the guitar, pick up something that is, of good quality and will, be a good instrument. So that's the first step. And then the other thing is that when you pick up your guitar, you pick it up with purpose. You pick it up with an intention that you're picking up. I'm not just like picking up the guitar and just kind of mindlessly, messing about with it. Like you want to pick it up with purpose. You want to do it with intention. And some of the thing that was kind of funny is he specifically talks about noodling. And I actually like this approach. He says, maybe you just want to noodle on it while watching TV. Then pick up your guitar with the mind of noodling while watching TV. Remember, the guitar is an instrument, a thing by means of which something is done. Keep this in mind every time you reach for it. When you pick it up, pick it up. So I love that because he doesn't disqualify the idea that you can just pick up your guitar and noodle. And sometimes that can be actually quite good. I've watched several very great interviews with people like Tim Lurch, and other people have mentioned this too. Other really great guitar players have talked about this. But this idea that, and I think Danny Gatton was probably the first person that I heard kind of saying this thing, that it's actually quite useful to do some practice while you're doing other things like watching TV or, I don't know, maybe even just sitting around and not really super hyper focused on, like, you're not trying to learn something per se. You're just practicing the physical movements that you've already spent the time to try to analyze and look at the details. And now you're just working on the setting it into your muscles. So getting the muscle memory down. And he doesn't discount that. So he says, if you want to pick it up while watching TV and noodle, then pick it up with that mindset and do it. And that's cool. So I like that because I've actually done quite a bit of that in my day. And I think a lot of the mechanics of doing, of playing the guitar actually can be done very well with that kind of repetition. I think, again, like I said, Danny Gatton talked about this in some of his instructional videos where, he shows you kind of some little, banjo roll or, some kind of technique, some finger picking, hybrid picking, whatever. And then you can just practice that to get it under your fingers. So I like this idea of, picking it up with purpose. And sometimes the purpose might be to just, kind of run the mechanics of it. But then when you want to pick it up with the intent of sitting down and learning something, a new scale, a new chord, some new chord progression or some lead lines over a specific chord progression, then pick it up with that purpose. Don't go and noodle. Don't waste your time doing other stuff. Like, do the thing that you wanted to do, pick it up and use it. It's an instrument to achieve, really kind of the enlightenment and the Zen mindset. So I like that part. The next step is on tuning, and I'm just checking my notes here of what I wanted to say. So on this one, basically he's talking about tune. So the third step is tune, and you want to be able to tune your guitar, tune your instrument, obviously. So physically being able to tune it. But he also talks about the importance of learning how to hear, and learning how to hear is a skill. He talks specifically about, people who say like, "Oh, I'm tone deaf" or whatever. And I love this quote. He says, "Anyone who can tell the chirp of a bird from the bark of a dog can distinguish a higher pitch from a lower pitch and thus learn to tune." And then he gets into kind of the details of, you're just learning how to make that distinction finer and finer until you can actually hear like little bits when you're at, your one string is slightly out of tune. And this is a great skill, because I used to be really bad at like hearing things by ear. And I've found that just over the years of actually trying to work on it and practicing that skill, I've actually gotten much, much better at it. Now, I'm still not nearly as good at it as I would like to be, and I'm not nearly as good at it as other people that I know who are exceptionally good at it, but it is something that you can get better at, and I have gotten better at it. And just like he says, you have to actually practice that and learn how to do it. So I really like that. And there's another thing he says, too many of us allow our eyes to dominate our ears. Try closing your eyes and listening with the ears of a blind person. Lessen your reliance on one sense, and the other senses will grow stronger. There was a time when I would actually practice even trying to play through like an entire set list of songs from my band. And I would close my eyes and try to play through the whole thing without even having my eyes open at all. And that was actually really helpful too. So there's other things you can do to really help with that. So I think that's really cool. And he gives other examples too. But so he mentions the importance of being in tune with your instrument. And then he also talks about kind of learning to appreciate the different kinds of sounds and feelings you can get from different guitars. And I've related to this very strongly ever since I started playing guitar, that I've always had this sense and this feeling that whenever I pick up a different guitar, I sort of am, I get different feelings from different guitars. I do play differently when I pick up different guitars. I don't generally like playing the same things on different guitars. I tend to play different things. That's not to say that I can't play, specific things on any guitar, but like just by like my natural inclination, it's not what I normally do. And I actually talked a little bit about this on my video where I talked about my first guitar and this idea of one guitar to rule them all. And I've said too that in that video that some people seem to be completely fine and okay with that they just have their one main guitar they're famous for, and that's their guitar. They might have a backup or something, but that's it. And they are able to fully express themselves completely and utterly perfectly, like with the one instrument. And that's great. And I'm not telling you that you shouldn't be able to do that. In a way, like I kind of think that's even better. That's like more awesome, like something to strive for in a way, maybe, but not necessarily. And also like, I just can't help but deny what I feel, which is that sometimes I've written songs when I picked up one particular guitar versus another. And I do feel that like, some songs just seem to come out easier and sound better, like with one guitar versus another. So I think that's kind of a cool like little thing he talks about as well. And then the last thing here that I want to talk about with the tuning is where he says that we don't want to just be in tune like physically, like audibly, like with the guitar or the strings or whatever, but also being in tune with our internal kind of self, our own feelings and mind, body, spirit, whatever you want to call it. So I think this is a really cool thing. And he talks about this. And then what was the thing that I wanted to read you guys? He says, when you feel that moment of transcendence where your spirit is uplifted, that's what we're going for. So this is the idea that like you want to be able to be so in tune with yourself that you're in harmony. Like it's not just music, it's not just the guitar, it's everything we do. So as I've said before in the first video, like I really think like this book just applies to so many things. Like in my own life, I've felt at times when things are just kind of all aligned and everything just feels like it's going well. Like it's not just one thing that goes well. It seems like almost like everything is going well, and that's kind of what we're shooting for. That's what we're striving for. So he's basically talking about being in tune with each other and yourself and the people around us and like the whole world. And he gives a great story about a Zen master. He finds a thief in his house, and the guy he barely has anything because he lives a very, modest life. And so the Zen master offers the robber, like the thief, his own cloak, his robe or whatever. And so he says, what does he say? He says, "You may have come a long way to visit me, and you should not return empty-handed. Please take my robe as a gift." He offered forth the robe from his back, and the thief slunk away. "Poor fellow," the master said, gazing at the night sky, "I wish I could give him this beautiful moon." So, he didn't begrudge him anything. He actually wanted to give him his robe. I mean, that's kind of, maybe an unrealistic, like, level of being in tune with others. And, but if you think, to like, the Christian Bible, like this is kind of like, Jesus with turning the other cheek and, giving your robe, like to somebody who asks for it and all this kind of stuff. So it's a similar idea, and to be that much in tune with the people around us. That's kind of what they're talking about. So it's pretty interesting. Now we're going to the last step, which is play. And let's see here. Basically, this chapter is really just talking about the idea of making sure that you realize that playing the guitar, it really is play. Like it's not it's not this complicated thing. It's not this like impossible task. Like if you're just starting out, he talks about like putting everything you have into just playing one note, play one string, one note, and do it with the best of your ability and like the best of your emotion, and put everything you have into it. And just, don't like worry about more complicated stuff or what other people are doing. Make sure that you are feeling it and you are playing what you feel with emotion. And, he does a great job of saying how you can start with that one sound, then you can go and add another one. Now you can add another one. You can play a chord. Once you play one chord, you can learn another one. Once you have 3 chords, you can take over the world. He says 3 chords can rock the world. And most of all, play with joy. Therein you'll find the way. So he says, put in the work physically too. I mean, like he talks about it. He says literally like, sweat hard and build your strength and keep building on your, ability from that one note. But never forget that is what it's all about. It's playing, and it's like enjoying it and having fun. And, he talks about technique not being the means to an end. It's not an end in itself. Sorry, that's it. It's a means to an end. Basically he says, this is regardless of style, like this doesn't matter like what kind of genre of music you're playing in. This really should be a matter of you playing in a way that you feel great. You feel that joy that you felt, again, going back to the first step, when you have the white belt on, when you are a beginner and you have that beautiful, naive kind of feeling of it's just a joyful thing to do. It's a joyful thing to hear and play like your instrument. And, I think that's probably, kind of the best way to think about it, is that just when you first got into guitar, like what was that thing? What was that feeling? And just always strive to feel that when you're playing. And, so he says, you want to find your own fingerprint. You can't, you can't confuse and get lost in trying to be somebody else. Be yourself. Enjoy the fact that you are unique. You're going to sound like yourself and like nobody else. And that's what he says is, like the goal. So we're going to end here. I think the video is kind of long as it is, but he says, play on, your belt is getting soiled. So, on our way to progressing towards the black belt is you have to put in this, work. You have to put in this practice. And I think we'll stop here, and the next section will be another video. So hope you guys liked it. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up and let me know. And if you have your own, stories to share with these concepts, or, your own feelings on the matter, please do post them in the comments. I greatly appreciate them, and hope to see you in another video soon. Bye.